What is up guys, Stark here. In today's video I'm doing the character spotlight for Nitocris. So Nitocris is a 4-star caster that came out with the Camelot batch and will go up to level 80, and at level 80 she will have 11,288 HP and 9,060 attack. This will rank her 59th overall in HP and 53rd overall in attack. And if you do decide to max her out, she will end up with 15,686 HP and 12,970 attack. She has a 50 for her star weight, and for her star gain she will have 10.8%, and then for her Noble Phantasm stat she will have 0.54 on the attack and 3% on defense. So moving on here to her servant skills, first up is going to be the Egyptian Magecraft A. Now this will increase her own death success rate for 3 turns, as well as restore some of her HP. So Nitocris is pretty much going to be a instant death dealer, but you know, that's pretty much only useful for mobs and like farming and stuff like that, because most servants and like special unique bosses have a really high resistance to death, so you're probably not going to get it off on them. But as a farming servant, she is going to be very, very good. And you'll see why in just a little bit, but for now, this will increase her own death success rate for 3 turns, starting at 50% at level 1, and it'll go to 100% at level 10. And then for the heal, it's going to be 1,000 at level 1, and then goes up to 3,000 HP at level 10, and this will max out at a 5-turn charge time. Moving on here to her second skill is going to be the Rapid Words of Divine B. This will greatly increase her Noble Phantasm gauge. So this is what I was talking about with her capabilities of farming. So having the skill, you don't even have to have it maxed out, but at level 8 you'll get a 102% increase to your gauge. So once you get it to level 8, you could just use this skill and you will instantly have your gauge ready to go to spam your Noble Phantasm, which is why she's so good for farming. That and the fact that she does instant death to mobs, so it'll definitely make farming really fast and really easy with this character. If you do max it out, it does go up to 120% on a 7-turn charge time. So overall, it's a pretty good skill to have your Noble Phantasm gauge, you know, ready on demand, and whenever you need it, it's going to be there. And you don't have to use like any other outside sources to help your gauge get filled. Next up for her third and final skill is going to be the Grace of the Sky God B. This will apply Guts 1 time for 3 turns, and it will also remove all of the debuffs on her. So this is a pretty good skill here, and the Guts will revive her with 1,000 HP at level 1 and 2,000 HP at level 10 on a 5-turn charge time. So this is going to be a very good skill, being able to be recycled more often with the low charge time. And the fact you can remove all debuffs on this skill, as well as applying Guts to this character, is going to be very helpful. Moving on here to her passives, she's going to have 3 of them. The first one is going to be the Territory Creation A, which will increase her arts card effectiveness by 10%. The second one is going to be the Item Construction B+, which will increase her debuff success rate by 9%. And third and finally, she will have the Divinity B, which will apply damage plus 175. So moving on here to her Ascension. For her first Ascension, she is going to need 4 caster pieces and 50,000 quantum pieces. For her second Ascension, she's going to need 10 caster pieces, 6 forbidden pages, and 150,000 quantum pieces. For her third Ascension, she's going to need 4 caster monuments, 24 Fool's Chains, 2 Scarab of Wisdom, and 500,000 quantum pieces. And for her fourth and final Ascension, she is going to need 10 caster monuments, 4 Scarab of Wisdoms, 6 Lamps of Sealed Evil, and 1.5 million quantum pieces. And then for her skills, to max out her skills from 1 to 10, you are going to need 14 Gems of Caster, 14 Magic Gems of Caster, 14 Secret Gems of Caster, 36 Fool's Chains, 12 Forbidden Pages, 8 Heart of the Foreign Gods, 60 Evil Bones, 1 Crystallized Lore, and 27,200,000 quantum pieces. Moving on to her command card deck, she will have 1 Quick, 3 Arts, and 3 Buster, and all of them have very high hit counts. 4 on the Quick, 3 on the Arts, and 3 on the Buster. So she's going to have pretty solid Noble Phantasm generation, especially having 3 Arts cards in her deck, being able to make Arts Chains. So that's going to be really nice. You know, if you do need to use her Noble Phantasm multiple times in the same fight, you have your second skill for on-demand Noble Phantasm, and then you can use your Arts cards to get the gauge filled faster to maybe, you know, use the Noble Phantasm again on the boss wave or the second wave or wherever you're going to need it but she will be getting her gauge filled quite regularly. And then for her Noble Phantasm, it is going to deal heavy damage to all enemies with a chance to inflict death on each of those enemies for the overcharge effect. So this is a Arts Noble Phantasm that will have 3 hits, and the chance for it actually inflicting death on the enemy is pretty low. It'll be a 50% chance at level 1 and a 100% chance at level 5. But again, this is mainly only going to be effective against mobs. It won't really work too well against, say, like servant bosses. But you're not really going to use her for that. Like I said, you're going to mainly be using this character for farming, so she will excel at that. There is an interlude quest you could do to power up her Noble Phantasm, and this will add an additional effect where it will decrease the critical rate of all of the enemies for 3 turns, and it will also up the damage that you can dish out. So now moving on to some craft essences you can use on this character. First up is going to be her level 10 Bond Craft Essence, which is going to be the unused Royal Authority, which while equipped will increase the Noble Phantasm gain and the Noble Phantasm strength of all allies by 10% while on the field. So this is a nice craft essence to use for Noble Phantasm generation and damage. It's not a bad option to use on her, but she doesn't really need the Noble Phantasm gain, so you could definitely substitute this for one of the following craft essences. So first up is going to be Black Grail, which will allow you to increase your Noble Phantasm damage by 60%. Now you will lose 500 HP every turn, but the amount of damage you get from Black Grail definitely outweighs the amount of HP you lose each turn, so it's definitely going to be worth it. Next up is going to be Kaleidoscope. Now, hear me out. This isn't a very useful craft essence to use on her, but in certain situations it's definitely going to be a good one. If you are using her for farming and you don't have too many like damage dealers, you could use Kaleidoscope on this character, and you can use her Noble Phantasm on the first turn to clear the first wave, and then you can use her second skill to generate her Noble Phantasm to use it on the second wave, which will get you, straight into the boss fight where you can use whatever other servants you have. So you don't have to worry about that. It's only going to be useful for farming, but I'm pretty much only going to be using this character for farming if I do have her. So that's why I put Kaleidoscope on the list. It's not really the best choice for like actual fights, but she's a very good farming servant, and having Kaleidoscope will help you use the Noble Phantasm, each turn for 2 turns, clearing the first 2 waves, because she's only really useful in clearing the mobs. So, that could be a solid strategy to use. And then last but not least, you could go ahead and use Formal Craft on her to increase her arts card effectiveness by 25%. So now moving on to the character in review portion of the character spotlight, and first up we're going to talk about some of the servants you can use with this character, and the first one is going to be Mozart. So Mozart is a pretty good choice because he has the ability to increase the arts card effectiveness of all of the allies. So Nitocris being an arts damage dealer, she's going to benefit greatly from this, and he also does have a arts heavy deck as well, so you will be able to make very good arts chains, and you'll be able to increase your Noble Phantasm gauge very effectively. So overall, he's a pretty solid choice. Next up is going to be Ryogi Shiki. This could be either the assassin version or the saber version, but I put saber on the list because her Noble Phantasm is AoE as opposed to the assassin being a single target. But they're pretty much just both there because they're death damage dealers, and it would be a nice little combination to have. So next up is going to be Tamino no Mae. As always, she is going to be a staple in pretty much every arts card deck out there. Overall, she's just one of the better support servants, and she has her third skill, which will increase the arts card effectiveness of Nitocris if you choose to use it on her, and it will also heal her as well to help her stay alive a little bit longer in the fight. She has 4 arts cards in her deck, so as always you'll be able to make arts chains to help your Noble Phantasm gauge increase that much faster. She also will go ahead and increase the gauge with her Noble Phantasm. So this is similar to what I said with Kaleidoscope, where you can just make it so you can use Nitocris' Noble Phantasm in each of the first 2 waves to fast clear them into the boss stage. And then last but not least, we have Waver. As always, Waver is going to be a staple in every team. He'll be able to increase her gauge, similarly to what I was just talking about with Kaleidoscope and Tamino no Mae. He'll be able to increase her defense and her attack and her crit strength, so he has pretty much everything you need. He also does have an arts deck, so you can make arts chains But yeah, there's really not too much to talk about here with her servants, since she's primarily a farming servant, and she's pretty self-sustained in that regard, so you don't really need too much as far as support for her. So now moving on here to her actual star rankings. First up, for her stats, she's going to get 3.5 out of 5. For her skills, she's going to get 3 stars in this. Being able to have your Noble Phantasm generated from 0 to 100 just with her skill alone is really nice, especially as a farming servant. Being able to make your Noble Phantasm gauge instantly be filled, well, I guess that's the reason why she is a farming servant, but having the ability to do so is very good. And then she also does have skills to help increase her survivability. For her Noble Phantasm, she's going to get 2.5 stars here. The Noble Phantasm overall doesn't do too much damage, and the chance for death isn't really going to be working outside of mobs, so she is kind of limited to that box of farming. However, she does excel at that. Overall, it's not really a good Noble Phantasm. For her survivability though, she is going to get 3.5 stars. She has a gut skill, and her first skill will allow her to heal herself, so she'll definitely be alive longer into the fight because of those skills. And they do have pretty low cooldowns as well, so you will be able to recycle them multiple times if need be. And then for her versatility, she's going to get 2.5 stars here. Again, like I said, she is primarily just fixated into the box of farming, and she really doesn't offer too much to her team outside of that. And you won't really be taking her into fights in which you will not be farming, so she's kind of limited into what she can do. But again, she is very good at farming because of her Noble Phantasm being able to be used whenever you need it, and the odds of killing the mobs with her Noble Phantasm are pretty good. So overall, that is going to be a good spot for her, and that will give her overall ranking a 3 out of 5. So that's going to wrap up this character spotlight, guys. Well, actually, no, hold on. I know a lot of you guys have been talking about my ranking system, and you guys are kind of asking me to change it. And I hear you guys. I've been thinking about that for a while. I'm working on it, so there's definitely going to be a lot of changes to the actual ranking system. I don't know when I'm going to change it. It won't be with the Camelot batch. I already have everything made for that, so it won't be there. I'm going to try and change it as quickly as possible, but again, it is going to take a little bit of time to alter the graphics and everything like that, and I want the next time I change it to be the final time I change it. I don't want to keep changing the graphics and the ranking systems and having to go back and redo everything. So hopefully this next time will be the final time, but because of that, let me know what you guys think I should do in the comments below. I already have ideas on what I want to change it to, but I'm always listening for you guys' feedback, so let me know what you guys think about it. And that will be the end of this video, so I will leave you guys here with Nitocris' Noble Phantasm, and I will see you guys next time.
出ません。